In terms of sound editing, you can imagine a strip of images in one position, and right below that, a strip of sound which is dialogue, and that exists on its own track, so to speak. Below that, many dozens, sometimes hundreds of other tracks made available for different sounds. You can think of it as a kind of mosaic, and the sounds are little chips of sounds, and we have to put them in the right place. The important thing is to have a concept for what you're doing, not just throwing sound at the film and seeing what will stick, but to have an idea and to try to find the most effective sounds that you can find to make that happen. I would say 98% of all the sound that you hear in a film is added after the fact. At the time of filming, the concentration is on the dialogue and getting the dialogue as exact as possible. And for a special effects film, like any of the Star Wars films, when the stormtroopers charge down the corridor of the spaceship, what it actually sounded like was clump, 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 clump. They were running on plywood and they didn't have real metal boots. We had to get rid of that. And because we had to get rid of that, we had to get rid of anything that they said.
The Death Star plans are not in the main computer.
Where are those transmissions you intercepted?
To achieve the final effect of the final soundtrack, there's a huge amount of replacement and addition of sounds. Why we do that is not only to make it sound more convincing for what you see, but frequently to add sounds that are shading into what you might call musical effects. They're sounds that are not prompted by anything that you see, but we know, we who do sound, if we add this kind of sound, then the audience is going to feel a certain way about the scene and not be able to tell why they are feeling that. I was at a party that Francis had held, Marty Sheen's birthday, and Francis had gotten a helicopter in to take Marty to a baseball game. In the middle of the party, I suddenly heard this sound, which was, it was the turbines warming up on the helicopter, and I suddenly saw the transition to the big scene where all of the helicopters are suddenly in action. They haven't taken off yet, but they're all waiting to take off. What I did was record this sound and then pre-lap it over the end of the Charlie Don't Surf scene.
All right, take a gunship back to the division. Lance, go with Mike, let him pick out a board for you, and bring me my Yater spoon, the 8.6.
I don't know, sir. It's
What is it, soldier?
Well, I mean, it's pretty hairy in there. It's Charlie's point.
Charlie Don't Surf!
As the scene is kind of coming to its end, which is on the line Charlie Don't Surf, in the background, unexplained, is this turbine sound that is ramping up, getting louder and louder, and then at the cut, boom, you hit with 37 helicopters all sitting there on the ground vibrating in quintaphonic sound. We live for these moments where some mystical, magical concoction of sounds that don't really make any sense when you look at it normally actually congeal into something that not only for the scene, but for that scene in the large scope of the picture is unusual and yet effective at the same time. There are certain things that, for very peculiar reasons, sound better if you fake it than if you do it for real. When you walk in snow, you not only hear the sound, but you feel it in your foot. And so what we think is a sound is actually a combination of two senses, a tactile sense and an auditory sense. Cornstarch sounds better than, it sounds more like snow than snow does. For science fiction films, it's another thing. What does the sound of a jet motorcycle sound like in THX 1138? I thought, well, it's kind of high-pitched, maybe. I think it's kind of angry and distorted. I'm going to get all 6 women who are working at Zoetrope at the time, come with me into the bathroom So here I was with 6 women in the bathroom, and I said, I want you to scream as loud as you can. And I deliberately turned the record so that it would distort when they did scream. And then I took that sound and used it as the sound of the motor. And that became kind of by extension the father of the sound for the TIE fighters in Star Wars.
You're too fast!
Sometimes you wonder, where did ideas come from? Well, why screaming women? I don't know. It appears to be correct, and then you try it, and it kind of looks like it's the right sound.